a quick introduction first, if you don't mind? No, if you want. Öncelikle geldiğiniz için çok teşekkürler. Bu Arthan Gallery'nin ilk Art Talk'u diyelim. Ama biz çok başladık, çok şanslıyız Alain olduğu için. Çünkü kendisi bir koleksiyon olarak ve sanat yönetimi oldukça ilgili biri. Dolayısıyla bu uygulamadan çok faydalandı. Geldiği için ben kendisine çok teşekkür ediyorum. Zaman ayırdım, çok kısa zamanım vardı. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much for taking the time so we can make it interactive. Don't hesitate to ask questions, remarks, please. It's not teaching, but I thought of using a presentation I did for in Berlin in 2018, which is a pretty simple question. I mean, how can collecting art make us happy? It starts from one thing. You can put the next one slide. It starts with a very important question. One question that after collecting 23 years, I'm still asking myself extremely regularly, what is art? What is art vis-a-vis craftsmanship, artisanship? You have here different artisans. Here, what about design? What about architecture? What about the fact that someone is, oh wow, this is art in many ways. So it's important to keep asking yourself continuously, because sometimes the definition is too broad, too narrow. Sometimes it's too broad. People say everything is art in some way. So you must for yourself find a way. And it is very important that what I will describe you is one type of art. It can be art that you don't like, but it is one definition, and you have to position your own definition to know what you like and why. And that's the beginning of the path. For example, you've got those two paintings that many people would consider art. The usual classic, which is pop art, Superman. And the other one is something extremely decorative. And what you must know is that Thomas Kincaid sold approximately for $150 million of this thing. Mostly under the form of posters, but he sold millions and millions and millions of it on the different form and formats. But for many people, this is art. So who am I to say this is not art? I don't know. Just say, I don't like this kind of art. But it's important to know, because if you go in that direction, then we will not really understand each other later in the conversation. Okay, for the next one. The same here, we have a tendency now, on the left you've got the infinity room of Kusama. If you know a little bit about art, it's the most search for entertainment in art that you can find. People are queuing for hours to get in one of them, and all it is, I've been in one, it's all mirrors that are reflecting yourself, and people absolutely adore the fact that you can take fantastic selfies. So the thing is, now you pay tickets and you can stay maximum 2 minutes in that thing. So art, not my art, and you will pay me to get there, I will not go. So the same here, another very, very famous, again in New York, they were queuing all around the block of the MoMA. It's called the Rain Room, and it's a pretty simple thing, is that you get in there, you've got the water falling, and when you enter, there's a control system taking your shape, and suddenly the rain stops. So of course people say, wow. But the thing is wow enough to be art? For me, art is more than wow. Because wow, I go to a Russian thing in Lipner and I say, wow, when I finish. So it's important to decide. The same as this. I mean, those images, everybody knows them. They're kind of inside us. But are they still art? Because they're kind of images, and every one of you knows millions. They see millions of euros. And for many people, buying those, it's about a social statement. I'm rich enough to buy those works. So again, it is art or not, because this is what is called financial arts now. So then we get into the kind of art that interests me. And it's a very peculiar movement, which is not normal. You know, I was meeting a collector in Istanbul that I really strongly recommend you to visit. You have to visit, please. Otherwise, don't die stupid. Because you have here, 1 kilometer away, an exhibition which is, you know, world class. I mean, I'm not kidding. This collector called Arthan whatever, forgot the name. What's the address? 25?
Sans.
What's that, sorry?
Sans.
So the big avenue here, number 25.
It's
Go there. He has the whole building because it's going to be destroyed for making another hotel. And it's exactly, I mean, it's fantastic, honestly. It's extraordinary. And you have to go and visit, it's for free. So it's open, different opening hours. You have to go. But this is the kind of art that interests me because it goes, and the collector is a very strange person, and I'm a pretty strange person too, for the one knowing me. And they have strange reaction because the normal people, when they see something they don't like, they say, I don't like. I will systematically go to the things that you like, which is maybe the thing that you saw before, more comfortable, okay? I feel comfortable. You know, most people are looking for situations where they are comfortable. They hate to be in an uncomfortable situation, whether it's the way they dress, whether the friends they meet, whether it's the race, whether it's the class. It can be many different things, but that's what it is. The person that is interested in art will go in another path. When they have something which irritates them, rather than saying, oh, I want to get rid of it, like I get rid of food or something like this, or anything. They will go to the mental process of trying to understand, why is it I don't like? Why is it I don't like it? Okay? And you look at yourself and you understand, oh, maybe I'm a little bit conservative, or maybe I don't know, whatever reason, or maybe I have a problem, I have a situation because my children are 23 years old and I'm from a generation where we were very free, even with our bodies. You know, I go to Ibiza and when I was young we were sunbathing naked. But my daughters have got a problem with the relationship to body. I mean, at your age, nobody wants to get topless or whatever. It's just changed. So it can be anything, but it makes you think, why am I changed so much? What about religion? Say there's a religious sign. Why is it hurting me? So, and this process of self-discovery makes that the more and more you get into it, the more and more you like the work of art. Because it opens up your mind. And this is the kind of art that I'm interested in. And also, to come back to the initial question, this is the kind of work of art that can improve your life. Because it makes you think. Same way as a good article, a good book, a good movie, a good encounter makes you grow, it makes you become someone else. Good art can make you be someone else. And that's why it's interesting. You know, I take the example of this work of art, which is created with the banners that were used in protest. You know, it projects you in this. I always ask myself, you know, would I be able to protest to defend my rights or not? Because I'm coming from a country where I don't need to protest, but would I do it? What would happen if there was an occupation by an enemy? Would I be in the resistance or would I be in the collaboration? I don't know. But it's important to ask yourself the question, and the more you ask yourself the question, the better person you become. So those collectors, that's what they say. Yeah, one back thing, just because everybody wants to stay young, so a good way of staying young is to do this. Asking yourself questions all the time. Because for me, being old is when you're no longer interested in other people. If you are still collecting, that means that you're still interested in the opinions of others and still want to learn. So it keeps you young. That's just Next question. So, when, I don't know who has got any interest in collecting in the audience, or it is the question that you have to ask yourself before getting into collecting is, rather than saying, I'll buy what I want, I don't know enough, or something, you need to ask yourself if you want to collect contemporary, not if you want to collect the old arts, Picasso and all this stuff, because we know the art history, that's pretty. But here it's something totally new. So if you want to be good at this, you need to ask yourself, am I comfortable in the new? Because if you are not comfortable in it, you will make mistakes all the time. You will buy the works that are in the beginning, super decorative, and I can guarantee it's better to give your money to someone in the street than to waste it in buying art. Either you go there, either don't bother, or then do decoration for your house, which is very good. It's a very good way of doing, but you will not get into the core of the contemporary art, because the good art of today is the one that people don't really understand. If you look across the whole history, everything that is collected that we see in the museum today, nobody liked it when it was created at the time. And it seems like a cliche, but it's the truth. Because good art, in my opinion, it's like a good artist is like a big funnel. Funnel when you put water in a bottle, so it absorbs all the energy that is around about anything. Political situation, tensions, gender issue, identity issue, religion, whatever. Just absorb those subjects that interest them. And they then transform it in a question, an object, like this object, or I like the other kind of the bunch of flower with the dashboards and, in one of the other room, because it creates an object. This object is a kind of a message sent to the world. The artist says, can you think about this, about an environment, about religion, about sex, about anything? Love, death. So can you think about anything? And many people, like the same way as they don't read the papers, they're not interested in except their own life, it goes up over their head, they don't hear. Okay? But only a few people, which are in this room and taking this time at 6:30 on Thursday afternoon, they are kind of interested in learning something more. And those people will maybe understand this message. And those people will maybe decide to preserve this work of art for the next generation. This is what's happening. So it is very important to understand it will change your life. It changed my life to get involved in art because it opened my mind. It changed my way of behaving, my attitude vis-a-vis other people. Just a small thing, because of course many people approach me to ask me, what about collecting, what advice would I do? I see sometimes couples that come and say, okay, we're interested, or mostly the wife comes and says, oh, I'm interested now, and the husband says, where can I watch the Six That's playing football? And I say, be careful, because if one starts going deep in there without the other one, I guarantee divorce. Because you're going to have one which wants to go to the museum and one who wants to go to the football club. So that's a big problem. So it is life-changing and it will change you. So you better start with your partner, because otherwise you'll be in trouble a few years down the road. So how to start, rather than going to art fairs and stuff, go to biennials. Go to biennials you have a biennial here nearby, don't miss it. It's not the best one I've seen, but it's still good works and usually good, interesting works. Go and see it. See that the collectors I saw, I spoke. There's another beautiful exhibition at Pilot, a gallery up to Taksim, a very good gallery. And nearby there's a fantastic video from a Chinese artist in a pop-up show, really not to miss, a proto cinema in the same building. So, go and see this kind of art, to train yourself, to push yourself, because it's about getting outside of your comfort zone. And you need to be confronted with this, this morning I took this guy on tour with me, and he was a bit shaken at the end of the day. And I think it's different this afternoon than he was this morning in some way. So I think it's see as much as you can. Otherwise, you're gonna, you know. I heard a gallerist, a very good gallerist, also by the way, not far from here, Art Sommer, in the building of the galleries there at the end of near Paraguay. And she said, you know, I've got 5 collectors that make my gallery works. And I realized that many of the others, they're just buying themselves expensive gifts to themselves. They're not really interested in art, they just buy themselves nice gifts. And expensive, she said, because art is expensive. It's 5,000, 6,000. You can almost buy a car for that. So be careful with this, and so people do that. So that's the way I think to do it. Otherwise, you're a little bit wasting your time and your money. Next. Very, very major collector. She started with an advisor. And then at the time, then when you have an advisor, they all advise you doing the same thing. You know, same car, same clothes, same things. And then she became herself. But it's interesting what she said in the beginning, you're afraid and you don't know. But when I have to decide what I want to do, I decide alone. Eventually she began to decide alone in the next. So it's easy for me to give you lessons, but what am I collecting? And I show you a few works that are in the collection. This one is from a Chinese artist. By the way, it's the same guy that is showing the video close to Pilot. Very, very smart. And there's 2 ways. You can do a portrait. Take a canvas or paper, you know, like in Montmartre or anywhere. I didn't see that so much in there in Istanbul. Places where you can do your portraits. And then you get, my nose is not that big anyway, so many other things like this. So you can do a portrait like this. Or what is your portrait is everything you're wearing. This is who you are. In a way, it's a better portrait than the portrait on the paper. So this artist came to this observation that everything you are, I can tell more. You don't speak to me. I take everything, I go into your bag, and look at everything, and I can get more than I would see by seeing your face. So this is what the artist does. He went to a big city in China, Guangzhou, which is a big industrial city where you have many people coming from the countryside. And he gets into the street like he could be there in Caracol. And he would ask you, negotiate with you, can you sit down with me? I'm an artist and I'd like to do a portrait of you. I would like to buy everything you have on you now. When? Now. Really? So, of course, many people say, but enough people, after long discussions, say yes. So, this person here in 2009 gave up everything he had on him on that day, including phones, keys. So this is a portrait of a migrant in China on that day. So it's a very, and it's not a picture. So actually it's a big planche on the floor and it's all clothes. It's clothes, the phone is the real thing. It's not that, nothing else. It's not a picture. It's the real thing. So the real thing is home. And it's a fantastic portrait. Because when I have Chinese friends coming home, they're able to see. Because, for example, it was someone looking for a job because there's some papers looking with the things, and there's somewhere here there is the diploma, a copy of the diploma, and stuff like this. So very obviously, it's someone looking for a job. So even in 2,299, people will look at this. This is the portrait of someone in 2009. So should I buy it? Yes, I bought it. Next one. Another strange one. So this is a scooter. The cover cup of the scooter. This artist is interested in repair. This is a building that has been repaired in all senses. And that breakup, the fact of being broken and being repaired means that when you are repaired, you're not the same anymore. Because you transform. Even if you're very well repaired, you're never the same. So he's really interested in that way, which is happening to us all. Breakup, sickness, death in the family, losing a job. We can be broken in many ways. And then what happens when we are repaired? That we're not the same anymore. We are better sometimes. So this is what he does. He takes those covers from the scooter, he sends them to a repair shop in Morocco. And in there they just do it a little bit like in Turkey. I love to see the workmen. They're all taking the old boxes and repairing the wood and the windows and the whole thing. I mean, you're repairing everything here and taking it back. So he sent them to, and they repair it with fiberglass done with bottles and stuff like this, and they put some plastic bag, so you see the different elements of it. But it's about repair. And it's all those elements that you can see, because in terms of objects, it's not an ugly object. Okay, it's a sculpture. It could be a sculpture of someone doing like this, or it could be an abstract sculpture, shape, it doesn't matter, but it's an object, it's fine. I lived with this in my home, and it's perfectly okay. But the story behind it makes you think, and that's what I like this piece. Oh, tough. This is Damien Hirst, one very famous world artist. What is it? When my father saw this the first time at my place, he looked at me and said, don't tell me this is a work of art. Because it's in my kitchen. Some people believe it is a medicine cabinet. So you start understanding a little bit what I mean by trying to go outside of your box. And this is exciting. Because I see you all waking up at the beginning, you say, now you kind of see some sparkle in some eyes. So, it's interesting. So you ask yourself, what is this? And then you go back to his history. So the way he explained this work, he says, I was always fascinated by the way my mother, and we all our parents or party parents here, and then, when you show the bottle of syrup, put it on a table, and immediately the kid feels better. He doesn't have to take it, but he's, okay, the syrup is there. So I will feel better in a few minutes, or the pill, or whatever it is. So he said, he said to himself, I would really like to create art which has got the same effect on people. I show it and people feel better. So he said, okay, I will try to do it so there's nothing in the boxes, so it's just the boxes. Just the feeling that you should feel better for whatever, because there's the sun outside, because it's Friday, or whatever else, you feel suddenly better. So he wants to make us think about what makes us feel better in some way. And so it's just the empty boxes. And because he said, I would like to create art that would make people feel better as soon as they see it. So that's another work. So another one, very strange. It's a Canadian artist from Greek origin, and she creates those strange sculptures that you don't see very well on the screen, but you should see home. And they look like humans. And in fact, she's telling the stories of a family. Her father was a fur trader, and she says, it's incredible because for many women, furs have got a very emotional and even aphrodisiac effect on them. So my father was always surrounded by women, which is kind of, I want that fur, I want this one, I want this one. So she created that kind of things about those predators, women that were around his father at the time. And she did it, representing women, but she did it in all material that women are using to embellish themselves. Those kind of scream and, I don't know, pepticide or pepticide, I don't know how it's called, but it's all organic material that is done. It works very well as a sculpture and as a group. Next one. Good. That's also now something very important, because I told you what art is. Then, how much should you pay for it? Good question. Because everything you've seen before is how much. Yeah. Because producing it is nothing. The medicine box with the empty boxes is maybe to produce 1,000 euro, maybe. Why would it be expensive? And that's the art market system. The art market system is, how do I make it to make it a business? I must try to sell it as much as I can. But how do I do this? Is I create myth. I create a myth because everything you saw, Damien Hirst, maybe you heard that name about the sharks and the whole thing. So, or here, I don't know which artist you know in Turkey, and you say, oh yeah, that's this one. But why is it? It's just because a myth has been created. And the job of a gallerist is to create myth, so that you think, oh, wow, this is really important, so I will pay 100,000 euro, which is an immense amount of money. But that's what, and one guy that kind of invented this is Leo Castelli, a major collector, a major dealer from the 1960s in the US, Warhol and all the major, he wasn't the biggest dealer, and he wrote this beautiful and direct sentence. What's the difference between a Gauguin Cézanne, and the production of a Cézanne is $1,000. Why is it selling for 800,000 and today 30 million dollars? It's just a myth. And me as a dealer, my job is to create myth. So watch out, because he's trying to create myth with all this. Every gallery is trying to make bigger, which means that when you approach an artist on an art fair, if you're going to contemporary Istanbul or anything else, the first thing they will tell you is, oh, this artist had an exhibition at Art Fair. He's collected by Omer Koch. He's having an article in Art Forum. So all the things that supposedly create the myth. Oh, he's important. Okay, how much? 25,000. You're paying for the myth. Because the value of art is zero. How much produced it? 100 euro, 200 euro, nothing. So what you will pay is everything you will do. There are some businessmen here, and you're a businessman. It's called, the goodwill. What is the goodwill in art? It's zero in some way, except that you build it up. So very important to remember that. Don't get tricked into it. Think for yourself how much is worth to yourself. Is it right to say that this is really important or not? And is it the right price? Sometimes I say this is the wrong price, and I refuse to buy it because I find it's the wrong price. But I think that the myth is not the one I think it should be. Next. Yes. Then another evolution, because you remember the original question is, how will art make you happier, more happy? Is that art helps. Now in some Scandinavian countries, the social security supports people taking art classes because it makes them feel better. And you see here, substitute med students who make time for art and more empathy, which is good for a doctor. And again, it goes back to the thing I described earlier, is that, getting involved in art makes you think about someone else. It's about the other. Who is the other? And then, because you try to understand someone, this guy, for example, whether you agree with him or not, certainly, maybe you will be able to agree with, So he's extremely famous in Los Angeles. He's called the Satan of the art world, because he's very well known to have developed that kind of speculation. And the problem is that this speculation does not work, simply. So the problem is that many people come back to him and say, you told me I would make money. So how come I don't make money? I mean, the thing you sold me for 20, he sold at auction for 5. So, and then he wrote this on his Facebook page. He said, you know, all I can say is I am not a stockbroker. He says it now, he didn't say it before. Because now people are coming back and say, where's my money? Art is not a bond portfolio. It's not my job to make you money. If it were, I would be an investment advisor, banker, private equity advisor. I've come to a conclusion that there are 3 primary outcomes from selling emerging contemporary art. It decreases dramatically in value and price, and the person is so to complain for the rest of your lives about how you rip them off. That will be his situation if he's selling art, it's a good investment. Second is nothing happens. You have then the field to question what is happening with the artist. Why is the price not going up? Can you sell it for me so I can buy something that goes up? Or it goes up, everything happens, the price rise, and then you are called to sell the work and you watch it fly at auction, and you have to listen to how smart your client was to buy the work and deal with the fallout of gallery and artists after having sold to such a client. So this is the history about trying to invest in art. Okay, doesn't matter. Just go forward. Interesting. Finished?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's finished. Sorry. So I take questions or remarks or experiences. So I've been very clear.
So, I'm curious in this way. Okay, you started collecting somehow, but what was the drive? What was your drive to collect in the first moment? What was the reason?
Can you come back and just show you something? Come back. What did you keep? Oh, no, forward. Forward. Yes. I started collecting in 1997. Okay. So this is a very important graph to understand, because this is contemporary art. This is art created after 1960. How do you want to assess what's going on? So you take auction, because the only play where you see prices and value is at auction. So if you take all the art sold at auction from contemporary art, in 2000, the amount was $40 million. Worldwide, $40 million. The whole world except China, because Chinese were speculating and were using it for bribing or paying corruption. So until 2003, as you see, it was around 50 million. So I started collecting at a time where no one spoke about money in art. When you were getting there, it was for all the reasons I described. Then what happened? Between 2003 and 2007, you went from 50 million to 820 million. So it multiplied by 22 suddenly. So people started speaking about money, because there was money in art, because suddenly the price were rising. So this is what happened, it transformed completely. So you have that in mind when people say, oh, you have this graphic, you know it. So you know that it started in 2008. It went down a little bit with the big crisis, it went up again in this environment. So when I started, it was absolutely not for investments. So it was for something else. I am an investment banker working, starting my career in Wall Street, and I'm trading bonds. What I realized is that when I was going in the museum, suddenly I was calm. I was feeling well, you know. And I was wondering again, the process is about, can you ask yourself a question, why? Why is it that, I don't know, you're running and you feel well? you do whatever and you feel what is it? Or you have something else that makes you very angry, very stressed. So museum make me, and I was thinking why. I said, and I realized that there was another thing, is when I cannot sleep at night, fall asleep, I do a very strange thing, is that I put the radio, but not the music, the news. So it's very strange. And if someone's speaking, blah, 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 blah. But in a way, I project my problems, and I look at the problems of those people, plane crashing things, and Trump said this, and Erdogan blah, and blah, 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 and then you say, oh, fuck, my problems are really not a big deal. And I fall asleep. So in the museum, I realized that what I like is to be in front of this and say to myself, what is it? Suddenly my problems are going. Okay? I'm projecting myself in someone else. So I said, I would like to reproduce at home. That's cool. It would be cool, but I don't need to go to the museum. So I said, how can I do the things except being doing robbery? I mean, I can collect something which is in addition. So I started collecting photography. So the first thing I bought were non-Goldin and under ceramic, which I saw in museums. I saw them at the Whitney Museum in New York, and I had the same in my living room, the exact same. So I kind of liked it, and so my reference is always the museum. So I want to have works that could be in the museum. And it's not that difficult, because of course I started with edition, then after I realized I had a good eye, and I can buy before the museum buys it. So it's pretty cool. And that's how the start was. I felt well in music, and I wanted to reproduce that at home, to have that art that is in practice. And then it changed the whole thing, because if you come to my place, it's very not furnished. You don't have a lot of tables, you don't have bibelots, you don't have books, you don't have nothing. You just have the art. And so people ask me, why? Because the art is very noisy to me. It speaks. It's not an object. It is a story. So when my kids were 10 years old, I said, Daddy, why do we have all that thing on the wall? And people, they have their family and stuff. We have photographs of people we don't know. So, why? And I said, they are friends. Yeah, they are telling me stories. So this art is telling me stories. So that's why. That's what I said.
I was going to say, I was thinking from your description that brings peace inside you. Also, you said you mostly choose the things that makes you disturbed at the beginning, like uncomfortable, but in the end you feel peace because you reach peace through them. But here you say they're lousy, they're noisy, but in a way that makes you peaceful.
Because it's projecting you in something else, and my conception of life is a little bit violence. Because I think that life is violent, it's brutal. Nature is brutal. The small fish gets eaten by the middle fish, and the middle fish is and then there's always the big fish. And then the big fish is fish by us. And sushi, and that's it. So, but everything is brutal. We are brutal towards each other, and then it goes back to my philosophy of. There's a French philosopher who says that the best way to understand humans is to consider them as animals. The instincts are very strong. The possession. Many discussions about all this are very, very much linked to that. The veil. What is the veil? The veil is an discomfort of the Muslim man towards the woman. Let her live. Just you want.
I have a comment and a question. My comment is going back to your example of your daughter, the 20-year-old, like everybody's the same, fashion and so on. I have the feeling that art is also a hype sometimes. Everybody wants to have pop art, but everybody goes into contemporary. If you see like Istanbul 10 years ago, 20 years ago, nobody was going to talk about art. Maybe some classics, yeah, but not like as today. So with education, with money, art comes, it gets a hype, everybody wants to have art. Also in other countries you see it, and then certain artists become art. Not because of the work they do, but just I need one of him. Yeah? So it's getting inflationary as well sometimes, at least my feeling. Yeah?
You're totally right. And that's what I tried to say about this thing, is that art is becoming like another luxury object. A luxury, and that galleries that says, those people are just buying themselves expensive gifts. Yeah. It's the same story. So that's why I say to you, when you get into this, go back to the basics. Ask yourself, why are you doing art? And it's okay to buy yourself expensive gift, a nice shirt, a nice watch or something like this, it's no problem. You deserve it. But, what is about art, and what about the relation to the artist then? What about the relationship to how you share art? And that's why I really would like to go to see that exhibition of that private collector who's doing that thing. I entered this place, I've never met him before. And he came to me and he said, you know what, I need to tell you something. So I never met this guy. And he said to me in my face, he said, I collect only political art, and I collect only art which is telling something. And I decided that not only I like what I like, but I decided to despise, to hate everything else, and to say it. That's a statement. And this guy is a real estate developer there, building highways and stuff. It's that essence. That's why, in fact, there are so few collectors. Again, people describe art in many ways, and many people describe collectors. And you're right, the one collecting the way you say, we say they collect with their ear. When they collect with their ear, it's not only the art, because that's the usual easy way. Okay, don't collect with the ear, do it with your heart. Yes and no, because the really beautiful thing is to control your heart. Because sometimes you want something, and because it's your style. And I see many collectors that do that mistake of buying with their heart only. Because at the end of the day, their collection is all the same thing. I know a collector, she's buying everything, I don't know why, chair, anything with skulls, and anything with money. So everyone in the world, I can tell you from South Africa to Brazil, every time they have an artist producing something with a chair, they know who to call. In Belgium. So, why? She should ask herself why. And in a way, because we're not obsessed with chair, we don't care about the art. So me, I'm trying to think somewhere else. I said, okay, why do I like it? Why do I do? And if I do it very, very consciously. And that's this effort that you missed at the beginning. That's this effort which gives you pleasure and in a way improve yourself. So, but you're totally right. We have constantly to resist to fashion. That's one of the most difficult things to say. And also, yes, it gives me the opportunity to add something. Because I said in my comment about young collectors, if you want to go back at the beginning, I said before or something. Yes, the blue one. Yes. So that's what I wrote about my advice to a young collector. Is that one of my mentors? So I said, try to get a mentor. That's why I'm here. That I'm trying to share with you. And someone very nicely at lunch said to me, 60 years old, 65 years old, museum director in Mexico. She said, mentorship is not that I'm smarter than you. It's that I'm sharing with you the experience I made about 23 years when you're about to start. So you're saving time by avoiding my mistakes. So a mentor, that's this. And he's one of my mentors, at the time he said something that suddenly struck my brain, suddenly making an explosion. He said, the thing that you have to get rid of when you start collecting contemporary is beauty. And that's where Serka still dropped to, because he said like beautiful things. So, beauty. But then you ask yourself, are you crazy? I mean, why do I want to have not beautiful thing on my wall? Okay? But then you have to define beauty. And beauty is, in his word and in my words, is defined as the acquired aesthetic. It's everything we know. I give you an example. When the Impressionists in 1880 were doing their painting, nobody wanted it. Okay? Everyone now says, "Oh, Impressionist, fantastic, I love it." Okay? So the same with Poirot, the Campbell soup. Suddenly the guy came with cardboard boxes, put in the things, and it was Campbell soup. Crazy. Not going for this. So the thing is, the big danger is collecting beauty is that if you collect someone painting like Picasso in 2019, you're making a big mistake. Because no one cares about someone painting like Picasso in 2019. But our heart will be attracted by it because this is something I know I love Picasso so much. And I love Picasso so much. But don't go for it now because otherwise it's a big mistake. So you need to get rid of that notion of beauty. And this collector, in 1968, he started his collection as saying, "I will buy everything I don't understand." And the first thing he bought was a dress covered in the plastic, like what they come from the dry cleaner, and there was just eggshells glued on it. That was it. Okay, right? And it's Martial Brotas. And this piece was sold to the MoMA, the Metropolitan Museum of in Europe. So, and he's one of the best collectors of those years. So, again, when you're going to visit that collector on Borguzan, whatever the name is, you say, for example, I need to tell you this. It's so fantastic. So it's a full building, 7th floor. When you enter, you've got a very dark room, and you have oil barrels on each other, but going 3 floors up, because he made a hole in every floor to make it 3 floors up. You know what it is? The S400. He's talking about the S400. Okay? Because he's saying, what the fuck those missiles? Because we don't even know how to use them. So we're pissing off the American, pissing off our economy because the Americans don't buy anymore. And we have those things, we don't know what to do with them, we put them in storage and we don't know what to do with it. And it's such, and then the most amazing thing is that, so 3 floors up, and go and see it. At the top of it, he puts those big bowls where you do popcorn. So when it works, is that you have the popcorn falling from 3 floors up, with the noise and the smell. Because you want to say, okay, this is the S400, and this is a movie, this is Hollywood. I mean, what the fuck is those S400 missiles that we needed to buy? See, so, and 3 floors up, barrels, it's orange, it's fantastic.
Then it's a message, right?
It's a message. It's just about, let's be serious. I mean, we're fighting for those things, and the words are stunning. But is it beautiful? No. And who the hell is buying that stuff? And I said to him, I love you because so many people sometimes when I buy something, they ask me, where are you going to put it? I never ask myself that. It's really the last question I ask. Sometimes I buy too big or too big. And some collectors I know, they buy it, but they cannot get it through the window. So they have to break the wall to get it out. So I saw one in Indonesia, to move out a 6-meter long painting, he had to destroy a wall. That's collecting. Okay?
Thank you.
So you have great institution, I don't know whether you know it. Who went to the Borozan Contemporary already? You need to go to the Borozan Contemporary. You have European class contemporary art spaces in Istanbul, and you should visit them. Don't miss the Istanbul Biennale. Don't miss that collector. There's a pretty good show at Yapi Freddy as well from Ali Tindere, which is one of the very good things. Don't miss Pilots. It's a very interesting show about the mix between technology and nature. So it's all kind of organisms, microorganisms, and so on. So really, you have good stuff here. It's just about knowing them, where to find them. So go and get there, and as I always say, it will save you money because you will not spend it in your shopping malls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.